This is Sky News, live from Westminster, as the Chancellor prepares to deliver his final budget before Brexit. Philip Hammond is expected to announce more money for the NHS, roads and green spaces as he sets out the state of the economy. Deal or no deal, the Prime Minister says the spending commitments will be funded no matter what happens over Brexit. We'll have the latest from Downing Street, where the Chancellor will emerge later this hour with his red box.
And I'm in Bristol, where we'll take a closer look at what to expect from the budget and how it'll be received by voters. We'll be looking at how much Mr Hammond can boost growth, with the High Street set for an extra £1.5 billion, including rates relief for small retailers.
Well, good afternoon from Westminster. Good afternoon from Westminster, where the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, is due to deliver his final budget before the United Kingdom leaves the European Union. Mr Hammond is expected to announce more money for the NHS, the armed forces and a cut in rates for small businesses. It's not yet clear how he'll fund the measures in this afternoon's speech, but this morning the Prime Minister's spokesman said that all spending will be fully funded regardless of whether the UK secures a Brexit deal. Well, Sky's political editor Faisal Islam is with me now. And Faisal, that statement from the Prime Minister's spokesman appeared to contradict Mr Hammond yesterday in his television interviews, where he said if there was a no deal, he would have to have another budget.
Yeah, it's not normal to have this type of seeming disagreement between number 10 and number 11. Remember, it says on the number 10 letterbox, First Lord of the Treasury. They always have final say on what goes into any fiscal measures. But the Chancellor did say to Sky News broadcast yesterday, we would need to look at a different strategy in the event of no deal. And frankly, we'd need to have a new budget that sets out a different strategy for the future. And as you just quoted number 10 from saying, all of the spending commitments that the Chancellor will set out today are funded irrespective of a deal, certainly seemingly going in different directions. But you can see why number 10 want to say that, because it's almost as if the Chancellor, with those pre-budget interviews, when he holds up the budget box, when he holds up the red book, the budget document, it's almost as if it has an asterisk on it, which is this will only apply fully should we get the deal that we hope and expect that we can get from the European Union. But that's a pretty big asterisk when you've got problems over there in the House of Commons, problems with the negotiation with the EU, and we just don't know where that's going to go. So one of the most important things, apart from the measures in this budget, will be what the Office of Budget Responsibility say. They've been highly cautious in terms of giving any hint about what may or may not happen in deal or no deal, or what their expectations in different Brexit scenarios will be. I think we will get more information than we have had to date on what they think will be the fiscal and economic consequences of no deal.
And given the delicate balance in Parliament, it's almost the most important thing is anything the Chancellor says or even implies about Brexit.
Irrespective of Brexit, this government, if you include the 2015, actually Cameron government too, have found it very difficult to get budgets passed. And that's one of the fundamental qualities any government requires, is to pass budgets. They've had massive U-turns on high-profile fiscal line items. Actually, Chancellor Philip Hammond managed to avoid that, even though they don't have their own majority with the help of the DUP. It's been difficult to pass budgets full stop, even more difficult when you have elements in their own Tory Brexiteer European Research Group and amongst the DUP who say that if the EU withdrawal agreement offended them, they would contemplate voting against the budget. Now, we think that they're calming down a bit in terms of the immediate threat on Thursday night, but there are other opportunities for them to intervene. This is why the likes of the former Chancellor Lord Lamont have said that this is a very difficult budget for the Chancellor indeed.
I think he's got a pretty impossible task, because he's been told this is the end of austerity, and he's somehow got to demonstrate a degree of largesse without putting up taxes to any significant extent, and at the same time bearing in mind that although the deficit has come down very remarkably big achievement of the government. The stock of debt from accumulated deficits in the past is still very high. So you've got to still live within your means.
So I talked about the political constraints, I talked about the fiscal constraints. You heard there Lord Lamont referring to another issue for the Chancellor, which is the Prime Minister preempting elements of the Chancellor's fiscal planning by having announced famously at her conference speech when she wasn't dancing to ABBA that it was the end of austerity. Now, every single measure that he announces in the next couple of hours can be judged against that difficult criteria of is it ending austerity. So creating a series of interlocking problems for the Chancellor, he'll need a lot more than his dad jokes that we got in the budget over the past couple of years to get through this one.
OK, Fawaz Islam, thank you very much indeed. I know you're going to go and see the Chancellor leaving number 11 Downing Street. We're expecting that before 3. His statement, of course, at 3:30. And let's go live now to Sky News Centre, where Sky's economics editor, Ed Conway, is looking through the detail of what we're expecting today in the budget.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And let's just take a look through some of what has already been leaked by the Treasury over the course of the